this rear suspension, we're going to need to do several things. We're going to need to undo those bottom bolts right there, the top bolts up there, the sway bar link, and the brake line. So first of all, spray them all with WD-40 or any sort of penetrating fluid. So first thing, we're going to remove the sway bar link. I already knocked that loose, so what I did is I took the breaker bar, I went ahead and put it on and then twisted it up and down just to knock it loose. I also hit it with a wire brush before just to remove any rust or anything that might be in the way. So you want a 14mm wrench and a 5mm Allen inside. You hold the Allen in place while turning the wrench, and it breaks loose easily on mine because I already undid it yesterday and then put it back together, because I actually need new sway bar links and I bought them. I'm going to make a separate video on replacing them. So you take this out, and then this bolt is the same exact thing. 14mm wrench, 5mm Allen, and this should come right off. So that has to come out. Let's take it out. So to remove the brake line, what you want to do is get a pair of vice grips with, I wrap them in electrical tape, or you can put a piece of brake line on it, or brake hose. But you want to just clamp down the brake hose as tight as you can. Obviously don't over tighten it, don't squeeze the brake hose too hard because then it'll break, but just tighten it down as tight as you can, and then start removing the fitting up here. Now I added a pair of vice grips here just to hold the brake line in place, because as you can see, this is fairly loose. So you might also want to hold the actual line, because it seems to be spinning with the fitting here. Now hopefully this one comes out, because on the other side when I did this, the brake line was so rusty it actually ripped. It broke right there. I'm just going to get a regular 10mm wrench. Alright, so with the regular 10mm wrench, you can just twist this fitting free. The reason why you should not start with a regular 10mm wrench and you need a line wrench is because you can round off this fitting here. It's very easy to round it off. And actually that's part of the reason why my other wrench doesn't fit in all the time, because I tried it with this one and I rounded it off a little bit, and then I decided it's time to go buy the proper tool for the job. I hate this. Pair of pliers. So much better. Okay, now this is loose. So what we have to do now is take this off and then take off this clip here. Now to do that, you'll either need a big screwdriver like this to pry it out, or if that doesn't help you, then you're gonna have to come with a screwdriver and a hammer from behind it and hammer it out this way. So you're just gonna push it out with the hammer that way. So what you want to do is, see the clip over there? You want to put it and push it out like that. I'm gonna do that, and I can't film and show it at the same time because I can't get the right angle here and have two hands free. So now This is clamped on tight here, so no brake fluid should come out, but I'm just gonna squeeze it up here so that it stays there. Okay, looks like we are ready to take off the suspension. So to do that, we're gonna need our breaker bar and a 17mm socket, unlike the front, which was a 19. We're just gonna put the breaker bar here, and you have to lift to loosen it. That was fairly easy. And just, I'm gonna go on until I start seeing that the bolt spins with the nut. And that's when I know it's loose enough to do something. Okay, this is actually coming off by hand, and the bolt didn't even start spinning. So there's one, and then the bottom one is down there. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'll take my torque wrench, which is shorter, and I'll use that to undo the bolt, because that one fits here and under the wheel arch. So, and I know this is not good for the torque wrench, but oh, this was on very tight. I have no other choice because I have no big ratchet that I can do the job with. Okay, so now that it's loose, I can take my small ratchet and do this. By the way, if you don't have a 17mm socket, a metric one, you can get an 11/16 socket. It'll do the same, it'll do the job. It fits fairly well. So, just so you know, that's what I'm actually using right now. But it seems like I don't have to because it's coming off by hand. Pop the seat up, and then either take a screwdriver and pry it out, or you can just hit it with your fist and it's gonna come out. Now, you want to take all of this stuff out of the way, including the speaker, so everything is gonna have to come off. turning it, off it comes. And last one. So now let's go back to the wheel and remove the whole strut assembly. So to remove this, just wiggle it around and it will literally fall out. Just like that. Let's just compare these two quickly and make sure they're the same, and they look very similar. They look identical actually. So that's a good thing. Look how rusty and ugly the old one is. So let's go ahead and put the new one in. Alright, so to put the new one in, we're gonna have to do some wiggling around so that we can fit, so that we can fit these 3 bolts up in their holes up there. So once you get those 3 bolts in, I just put the jack under there just to hold up the wheel, the whole assembly there, so that I can go up and in the trunk and put back the bolts that I took out. Now the nuts that the suspension came with, are 13mm nuts, not 12 like the ones that we took out. So I have to change my socket to a 13mm socket. So I'll just put them on by hand. And now we can switch to the torque wrench once we've made them snug. 30 foot-pounds. Let me see. 30, there it is. And torque them down to 30 foot-pounds. That's 1, that's 2, and the last one. It's kind of a pain to get to because of this plastic stuff here. And that's 3. And that's all of them. Now let's go down and reattach everything down there. So now that the suspension is in at the top, you want to make sure that it's in at the bottom, of course. So as you remember, this wheel is on a jack. So let's just remove the jack. The wheel will fall. Oh, perfect. The brake line just fell into place. Awesome. And now we will just position this as well as we can. I should have cleaned that. So much gunk in there. So we want to position this as good as we can, and then obviously put the bolts through. Okay, so one is through. It seems like if I push here really hard, it goes into place, and the top one, this is going to be a tough one, but you have to push really hard, and then it just slides into place. So let's tighten them down and torque them, then put the brake line back, and then put the sway bar end link, and then we're done. Oh, and then we have to bleed the brakes, obviously. So now these need to be torqued down to 105 foot-pounds, so I'm going to go to 50 first, and then we will do 105. Okay, so that was 50, and let's go to 100. 100 is here, and 105. That's 105. That is 105 as well. Let's just double check this one. Yep, that one's tight, so we're good. It's in. Now let's put the brake line back and then do the sway bar link. So got this. Got a 10mm wrench here. Be very careful not to cross thread these. So if you feel any resistance, stop and start over, because these are very important here. Okay, so it's time to get our big vice grip again. First, I want to position it. Once you position it into place, you can put this clip back. That was very easy, surprisingly easy actually. Okay, just slid in. And then we get our big vice grips. Clamp down on this so that it stays. And then we take our line wrench and we start tightening this. Just make it snug, obviously don't over tighten it, don't go crazy. Alright, that's tight enough. Now we can release this, and we will release this, and we are done with the brakes. Let's just double check everything. Alright, now let's put the sway bar in link back, and then we're done. So the last step that we have to do to finish up this suspension installation is we have to put the sway bar link back. Now, as you can tell, this is a new sway bar link, and I'm going to make another video on how to change these, but basically this is the reverse process. The installation is the reverse of how we took it out. So basically you just put it back in and then put the nuts back on the bolts, tighten them, make them snug, and then we're good. So after the brakes are bled, put the wheel back, and then we're done.